This morning, this box showed up, and no, it's not a Chromebook, obviously. Look at the size of this box. What it is a Steam Deck from Valve. And I know this isn't normally what we would unbox, but we believe that this device holds the key for some really cool stuff that is coming for Chromebooks specifically for gaming. So let's get in the box and check this thing out. All right, so let's just hop into this thing. And this might actually end up being one of the more casual videos we do because, to be frank, I don't really know what to expect completely. We just want to get this thing out of the box and get it booted up and just, I don't know, see what the screen looks like. What do the buttons feel like? All that stuff. Because we want to do some other videos on this. And kind of as I'm getting this thing out of the box, I want to explain if you've not really been keeping up with the story of the Steam Deck for any amount of time, it's important because, especially for us as Chromebook users, the whole Borealis Steam gaming on Chromebooks, we've got videos about that. We'll link those in the description. But that whole process requires that Linux, or that Steam is running on Linux on a Chromebook. And what that also means is we need this whole Proton conversion layer to work really well. And what that is Valve's multi-year effort to basically say, hey, we're going to take Windows games and write a compatibility layer and make them run in Linux. And so, you know, with Steam, they've got just so many games. I mean, over 50,000 games, I think. Most of them are Windows-based games. And so the issue becomes, you know, you go where the audience is. Well, the audience is playing Windows games. Well, what do you do then with something like this that runs Linux? Well, you write a really sweet compatibility layer called Proton and make it to where Windows games run perfectly on Linux. And then you can build something like this, the Steam Deck, this portable Linux-driven, it's basically a Linux laptop, just kind of in a portable fashion. And so as Valve gets better at this, as Valve makes it to where games run really well on this device, we get to the point where games are going to run much better on Steam on Chromebooks because it's the exact same setup using the same compatibility layers. So everything that this device here gets right is a win for Chromebooks. So now that we kind of got that out of the way, I wanted to make it clear why it is that we're even buying and unboxing this kind of thing. It's a cool piece of tech, sure, but it would be weird for us to be talking about like a Nintendo Switch or something, right? So this one really does have a lot of bearing on the future of how Chromebooks will be able to handle gaming. So we thought it very important to get our hands on one. And I registered immediately when they announced this thing because I thought, hey, this is going to have, you know, some weight when it comes to Chromebook gaming. And as it developed, it was like, oh, this is definitely going to play into this. And so got the email last week and they said I could buy it. So I did. Your games are going places. So again, I think, you know, Nintendo Switch kind of thing. It's going to be beefy. I guarantee it in the hand. But really nice packaging here. Some like multicolored letters here, which is kind of cool. What's this say? Attention, plug in. So I'm probably going to have to charge it and stuff, so we'll have to cut away probably for that. Plug in, power on. There's the steps. Get it set up. Go. It looks like there's an SD card slot maybe in the bottom. So I got the 256 gig. I'm not a huge gamer, but I assume if you have a massive Steam library, you would probably want the bigger one. I think it goes to 512, maybe a terabyte. I'm not really sure. We don't pretend to be like gaming aficionados around here. Again, I'll just keep saying it over and over. The only reason we're really messing with this thing at all is because of what it's going to mean for Chromebooks in the future. Pretty standard USB Type-C power brick here. Let's see, what we got? Health and safety stuff. So that's it for that. Just some fun, like, I'm trying to figure out what's on the subway. Oh, okay, so places you can play the Steam Deck in all kinds of languages. So, you know, the idea of portable gaming is awesome, and as much as I'd like to think that, you know, I'm gonna keep this thing, I'm gonna keep it, and I'm gonna start gaming portably. Maybe it'll win me over, and I'll keep it, but I'll likely probably sell it to somebody who would appreciate it a whole lot more than I do. But really nice case here. I'm not sure. Someone's gonna be like, dude, that's for whatever. I don't know what. Maybe for a backpack? Luggage. Maybe luggage, like the luggage rack or something. I don't know. Kind of weird, but really a nice hard shell case with kind of a soft lining on the outside. Oh, I gotta cut that. So it's held together by like a zip tie type thing here. There we go. And let's get our hands on this thing and see what what she feels like. Again, really nice case, like all felty on the inside, perfectly lined up. Like, that's awesome. That is huge. I'm used to seeing my kids' Nintendo Switches, so like this thing is straight beefy. Oh my gosh, it's huge. So here's my large 6.7-inch OnePlus for reference. That's a big honking handheld. But that's good because what they put inside this thing basically is a Linux laptop internal. So it's got a custom AMD chip with a custom GPU that's in there. But yeah, I mean, it's not like crazy heavy. I think it's reasonable. This feels very comfortable. Like the grips around here are really nice. They feel very ergonomic, so it doesn't feel squared off and weird. I will say, like playing with the Switch, for instance, because it's a lot flatter, isn't very comfortable. This is super comfortable. Like I feel like I'm gripping like a steering wheel or something. So I believe if I'm correct, there are like gyroscopes and stuff in here. So it's got all kinds of mobile type gaming stuff going on there. That's interesting. I kind of wish they would have had a spot in here instead of doing this. Maybe you could shove your charger in there. I don't know where you would put your charger. There's not really a spot for that. That's kind of a bummer. But, you know, case is cool. There's the charger, but really, here's what we're here for. I'm not even going to power it on yet. I'm going to do that off camera because I guarantee it's going to need to probably either download some software updates, have me sign in, all that kind of stuff. So we'll do that stuff off camera. But as you can see, dominated in front by a screen. I will get the specs before we cut back. I want to say it's either a 720 or a 1080p screen. Hopefully it's got a pretty decent refresh rate on it, but you got some volume buttons up top. I mean, there's just ports and buttons everywhere on this thing. So up top, we've got fan ports there. Looks like a USB Type-C here, which, yeah, that's going to be your charging / docking station. I don't see anywhere else that would work. So I think they sell a separate docking station. So you could dock this at your desktop and run a Linux environment. You can do whatever you want on it. It's Linux. So if you're cool with doing that, so you could put whatever flavor of Linux you want on there. It's not running like SteamOS. That was a rumor at the beginning. It's just running, I don't know which, I want to say it might be Arch Linux, but it's running a Linux distro. And then there's a Steam button up here at the top. I'm assuming just launch. It's set, you know, mapped to launch Steam. But you got a fan port up here, fan port back here. So obviously this thing's fanned. It's powerful. It's meant for gaming. So this isn't a mobile processor. This is a powerful processor in here. You got flanking speakers on the sides, which hopefully sound pretty cool. Let's see, micro SD card slot like we saw in the intro there. Headphone jack, of course. I mean, that would be terrible if they forced you to use Bluetooth headphones with a portable gaming thing. Kind of wish that was on the bottom though. As you're holding this, you know, that's going to come out of the top. So what else we got here? We'll talk about the buttons here in a second. Your volume rocker is right up here on the top. And I think as far as like those kind of random buttons, there's some sort of button up here. I don't know what that does yet. So we'll wait till we power it on and we'll press it and see. That one looks like a menu button up there. And then a 3-dot button. Again, I don't know. I'm outside of my depth here. I don't really know what I'm holding. So we got a regular controller over here, kind of directional controller. Feels pretty good. Feels nice and clicky and responsive. These thumbsticks feel great. A nice amount of travel to them, and you know they're firm, but they don't feel like they're super tall or weird. Each of those has a click to them. Again, we have the Steam button, whatever that button is there. Okay, so now you got 2 buttons up here. Okay, so you got your shoulder buttons. Yep, just one set. So shoulder buttons here, and then second shoulder buttons, and then 2 more buttons down here that you could map. Those are really firm. Oh, that's interesting. So they're really firm pulling this way. Like that is really tough to press. Pushing them right here is very easy. So I guess that's what they're meant to do. That's a lot of buttons on the back for a guy that doesn't play many games other than with my thumbs. So yeah, this would take some getting used to. But the most intriguing part of this, oh, and of course you got your 4 buttons up here, A, B, X, Y, and those feel nice and clicky, again, like an Xbox controller or something. But the most intriguing thing about this is, you see these big squares here? Those are trackpads, basically. And so those become, again, and this has a gyroscope in here, so games that enable or allow you to use motion controls, kind of like what I use on like PUBG or Call of Duty, you can just aim doing this, moving around the screen. So that'll be really cool to see how that works. Super interested there. But if you don't want to use thumbsticks, which I'm pretty terrible at because I don't play a lot of console gaming, I play a ton of games on my phone. I can drop my thumbs down here and use these touchpads basically like the way it would work on a screen. And Valve made a Steam controller before that had 2 touchpads on it. And so they've kind of carried that over here. So you've got this massive variety. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a touchscreen. Again, we'll verify this when I power it on here in a second. You've got this massive variety of ways to interact with this thing. You've got all these buttons all over the place. You've got touchpads. You've got thumbsticks. You've got a directional pad. You've got buttons and a touchscreen, I think. And so it's, I don't know, super intriguing, and really intriguing too to think of like, oh, I probably can just plug my USB-C here and output it to my monitor and put a mouse and keyboard with it and have a Linux desktop too. And so if you're really into gaming and you pick one of these up, it could also be kind of your laptop if you're out and about. Get a portable monitor. We'll probably do a setup like that at some point. But yeah, impressed with the hardware. It feels really good in the hand. So now we're going to cut away and power it on, get signed in and all that kind of stuff, and at least run a game or something so you can kind of see what the screen looks like and how the speakers sound and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously I've got some digging in to do with this device to see what the Steam Deck's all about. So yeah, let's cut away real quick and we'll come back when I'm logged in. Okay, so we have gone through the somewhat lengthy process of kind of getting set up, and that's to be expected with a device like this. It's been being worked on for months and months at this point, so it needed a software update upon its first boot. You do have to plug it in like that card said. You got to plug it in kind of like a Chromebook. It's not going to wake up until you do so. But once you get kind of through those first things, it's going to kind of step you through where some of the buttons are, and you obviously take an update and then log directly into your Steam account. At this point, like on here, I don't see a Linux desktop at all. I'm in Steam, and that's kind of what I want from this thing. Haven't explored outside of that. We'll obviously do a follow-up video or 2 or maybe 3 about how to do some other stuff with the Steam Deck. But a couple things that I came across just getting some stuff installed, and as you can see on the screen here, I'm actually installing Superhot. We wanted to find something that wasn't crazy huge. Started to install like PUBG, and it's like, I don't know, 40 gigs or something. So we need to move on to some other stuff for today, and I've got a lot of testing to do on this thing anyway. So Superhot's a pretty high-end game that at least we'll kind of see how it runs once it gets installed and going on here. But a few things that I've figured out along the way. One, the screen is nice and bright, so even under our lighting in here, you can see it hopefully just fine. I'm not sure how to adjust screen brightness. I'm assuming it is auto brightness, but again, these are things that I'm going to have to figure out, and we'll do a follow-up video, more of a review style video on this. But one of the cool things I realized that I didn't know, these trackpads are actually not just trackpads, they're actually directional pads too. So like you can see me moving around. There's nowhere to move left or right here. So if I go all the way to the top, there you go. You can see I can move, I can move across there too. So if you want to use these to kind of move around, or the directional pad, you can, or it is a touchscreen. So we've confirmed that as well. It is at 1280 by 800, so a 16 by 10 screen. I don't know what the refresh rate is on it, but it's at least 60. Obviously, it looks pretty decent. And the speakers, from what I can tell, let me see how far I've got the. Turn that up here, and so you can kind of hear the just nice little sounds around the UI. Whenever you click on something and it has a cool sound, they do sound nice and full. So I think for casual gaming on the run, it's going to sound good. You'll obviously probably have a better experience plugging some headphones in. But I'm going to launch this game up here real quick and just see how it performs. Okay, so logged in and got Superhot running. From what I can tell, it runs really nicely. I'm going to show that to you here in just a second. This is a Steam Play game, though, so I think they wrote this game for Linux, so it didn't even give me any prompts to like install the Windows version or whatever. Again, a lot of this stuff we're just going to have to test to see how some of these Windows games run on the Steam Deck, but I wanted to show you at least a little bit of this up and running. So what's really cool here is that with Superhot, you move kind of like a 3D shooter. So this one works really well for this, but to look around, I can just use this. I can use this stick too if I want. But again, I really like the feel of accuracy here with the right thumb pad. So I'm going to move. And that's kind of the whole shtick of this game. Things only move when you move. So I'm going to slide over. I'm going to line him up. Pull the trigger and go, bow, you see him. But you can see everything, frame rates look great. Everything looks silky smooth. Again, Superhot isn't the most difficult game to render. And you can hear the speakers are pretty loud too. I mean, they're not crazy loud, not wildly loud, but try to get another explosion here. Yeah, I mean, they're full sounding. You have really nice, like in front of me, I can hear the stereo separation pretty well. And so, you know, I think playing games on this that do run well on it are going to be really awesome. Again, we've got to do a full review to see how all of it works, to see how this Proton layer does with heavier games, you know, stuff like PUBG or Apex Legends that's built for Windows and running on Linux. Because again, as good as those do, if this thing can run those types of games well, that means Chromebooks are going to run those types of games well too, as we start getting better GPUs and all that kind of stuff in our Chromebooks. And we have the same type of Steam installation running on Chromebooks in the future. But guys, that's it for this one. Again, stay tuned. We're going to do a few other videos with this as we kind of dive in and explore a little bit more about that. So if you don't want to miss those, make sure and go down there and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Also, give us a thumbs up while you're down there too. Till next time, we'll see you.